There are moments when you step into a room, speak with kindness, and yet are met with silence or worse, with eyes that turn cold. No offense was given, no wound inflicted, and still you feel a subtle resistance like a current pushing against you. You may search within yourself for fault, wondering, "What have I done to stir such disdain?" But not all storms are summoned by your hand. The soul of another is a deep cavern. Within it lies envy, sorrow, fear, and old injuries that you did not cause, yet must still endure the consequences of. Hatred does not always announce its origin. It arrives quietly, uninvited, and attaches itself to your presence as though you were the source, when in truth you are only the mirror that reflects back their hidden unrest. To live among others is to walk through a landscape of unseen fires. Some burn because they long for what you possess, others because they misunderstand what you meant. Still others because your way of life exposes the fragility of their own. These flames flare without warning, and if you are unprepared, you may be scorched by heat that was never yours to bear. Yet the wise do not despair at such mysteries. They recognize that the hostility of men reveals less about the one who is hated and more about the one who hates. To anchor your peace in the approval of others is to moor your ship to a restless sea. Better to ground yourself in the solid earth of reason, in the unshaken root of your own character. So let us examine these hidden roots of resentment, not to condemn, but to understand. For understanding is the first shield of the soul, and clarity the first step toward peace. The poison of envy fire is not always seen. Sometimes it smolders in silence, feeding on shadows. Such is envy, a flame that hides beneath the calm face, behind words of courtesy, waiting to burn when the moment is right. You may never intend to wound another, yet the simple fact of your existence, the strength you carry, the calm you embody, the victories you have earned, can be enough to awaken this fire in them. For what is envy if not the pain of seeing in another what one has not cultivated in oneself? The envious man does not rejoice at another's harvest. He sees in it a reminder of his barren fields. When you rise in virtue, when you stand tall in integrity, you remind him of his neglect, his wasted days, his weakness left untrained. And because he cannot endure the weight of his own inadequacy, he would rather strike at your branches than till his own soil. Do not think this is rare. Envy is woven into the fabric of human life, for men often measure themselves not by their true progress, but by comparison with their neighbors. And when the comparison cuts, bitterness follows. Sometimes they slander, whispering in dark corners that your rise is unearned. Sometimes they smile before you, yet behind their smile they long for your downfall. But remember this: their fire is not yours to tend. You are not the keeper of another's unrest. If you allow their envy to pierce your heart, you take their sickness as your own. A wise soul does not drink poison offered by another's trembling hand. Instead, stand as the mountain stands. The mountain does not shrink because the valley resents its height. It does not bend itself lower so that the plain may feel at ease. It simply remains unshaken, letting storms rage and winds howl while its roots reach deep into the earth. So must you root yourself in what is yours alone, your reason, your character, your discipline. The envy of others lies beyond your command. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, do not concern yourself with what lies outside your power. And surely the passions of another's heart are beyond even an emperor's control. This is the paradox: envy is never truly about you. It is about the one who envies about the prison he has built from his comparisons. You only serve as the mirror in which he sees his chains. Do not confuse his reflection with your essence, and yet let this truth not make you arrogant. For envy is a fire that can just as easily take root in your own chest if you do not guard against it. When you see another rise when fortune smiles upon them, take care that your own soul does not harden. What good is it to envy another's path? Each man walks under the same sky, but no two journeys are the same. Rejoice that they have found their share of light, and remember the sun loses none of its brilliance by shining on many. Thus, when you feel the sting of another's hostility, whisper to yourself, "This fire is not mine. It belongs to him alone." And by this remembrance you will walk unscorched through the flames of envy, carrying within you a peace that no jealous glance can steal. 2. The fragility of words. Consider how thin the veil is that binds one soul to another. A word, a gesture, a silence too long, and suddenly that veil tears, leaving distance where closeness once was. Such is the fragility of human speech. It is both the bridge and the abyss. You may speak with pure intent, yet what another hears is colored by his mood, his memory, his wounds. The same sentence can be received as kindness or as insult, depending not on your heart, but on his ears. Thus, misunderstandings are born not from malice, but from the crooked paths of perception. Think of rain falling on two fields. On one it nourishes, on the other it floods. The rain is the same, but the soil determines the fruit. So it is with words. They fall alike from your lips, but in one heart they blossom, in another they rot. How much resentment, then, is merely the echo of misheard tones? How many friendships wither not because of betrayal, but because of a glance, mistaken a phrase half understood? Men carry these slights as though they were carved in stone, when in truth they are nothing but passing clouds. But beware, for silence too can wound. A withheld word of recognition, a failure to acknowledge another's pain, may be taken as disdain. What you never meant becomes what they always remember, and in this gap, suspicion plants its seeds. The wise know that speech is like a fragile vessel of clay. Once shattered, it cannot be restored to its former shape. Better to guard it, to place each word with care, than to pour it recklessly and regret when it spills. Speak with clarity, listen with patience, and when confusion arises, seek the root before it hardens into bitterness. Yet do not imagine you can control every ear or prevent every misstep. Even the most careful tongue will sometimes falter, and even the most patient listener will sometimes misjudge. This too lies beyond your dominion. You cannot command how your words will be received, only how they will be offered. Therefore, when you sense that distance has crept in through misunderstanding, resist the urge to clothe yourself in pride. Ask instead, is this hostility truly born of me or merely of a broken echo? Often the answer will lighten your burden. Remember also, to listen is greater than to speak, for listening softens the soil before the rain falls. By lending your ear, you prepare the ground for understanding. By hardening it, you invite the flood. And if despite all care you are still misjudged, then let it be. The river of speech runs only so far as your lips. Beyond that, it flows into currents you cannot govern. Accept this with calmness, for what is misunderstood by others need not disturb the harmony within yourself. So let your words be few but clear. Let your silences be gentle, not sharp. And when hostility comes from a fractured phrase or a tone mistaken, remind yourself this is the fragility of words, not the corruption of your soul. Third, the clash of values. All men live beneath the same sky, yet each carries a different horizon within. One bows before the temple flame, another trusts only the silence of reason. One reveres labor, another seeks leisure. One sees virtue in restraint, another in abundance. These differences do not vanish simply because we wish them away. They are the marrow of human life. and when they meet, they grind against one another like stones in a narrow stream. When values collide, men do not merely disagree, they feel their very identity endangered. To question a man's belief is in his eyes to wound the roots of his soul. Thus, even a small difference, a custom of food, a view on duty, a manner of worship may be magnified into enmity. What was never meant as a strike becomes a challenge to his way of life. Do not deceive yourself. Most who cling fiercely to their values are not defending truth itself, but defending the scaffolding that keeps their fragile house from falling. They confuse habit with righteousness, tradition with destiny. And when you stand outside their circle, they see not a fellow traveler, but a threat to be resisted. The wise accept this without anger. Why should you expect the world to mirror your own convictions? Each man's path is shaped by his land, his teachers, his ancestors. You cannot demand that another uproot the soil that has nourished him since birth. To insist on sameness is to rage against nature itself. Yet clarity must also be sharp. Tolerance is not weakness. To respect another's belief does not mean you must abandon your own. The oak does not become the pine simply because it grows beside it. Each tree holds firm to its nature, and the forest thrives in diversity. When disdain comes because your values diverge, remind yourself the disdain is not for you, but for the mirror you hold. By living differently, you expose the possibility that their way is not the only way. And for those who fear uncertainty, nothing is more unsettling. But do not turn this truth into arrogance. It is easy to say, my view is higher, my belief is purer. This too is folly. You are as much a product of your soil as they are of theirs. Epictetus reminds us each of us is shaped by the lot assigned to us by nature and circumstance. What right have you to condemn another's portion? So walk with firmness in your own convictions, but without contempt for those who walk otherwise. Let their judgments fall as stones upon your cloak. They cannot wound what is anchored in clarity. And when hatred arises from clashing values, see it not as a mark against you, but as the inevitable friction of diverse souls sharing one earth. The clash of values will never cease. It is the sound of humanity itself, the grinding of stone on stone as the river carves its bed. To resist this is madness. To understand it is freedom. VIII, the whisper of rumors. Not all daggers are forged of iron. Some are lighter than breath, yet cut more deeply than steel. These are the daggers of rumor, the whispers that pass from ear to ear, dressed as truth, carried on careless tongues. You may live with integrity, but once the shadow of gossip touches your name, it travels faster than you can pursue. Like smoke rising from a distant fire, it fills the air before you can quench its source. And though the fire may be small, the smoke spreads until the sky itself is dimmed. What makes rumors so cruel is not only their falsehood, but their power to reshape perception. A man who once greeted you warmly may now avert his eyes, not because of what you have done, but because of a tale he has chosen to believe. You become in his mind not yourself, but the distorted figure painted by the words of another. And in this distorted figure, resentment takes root. The ancients knew this well. A name once stained is not easily cleansed, for while truth requires patience and witness falsehood requires only eagerness and a willing tongue. People are quick to carry what is sensational, slow to carry what is measured. Thus lies spread like wildfire while truth limps behind. What then shall you do? Shall you chase every whisper, defend yourself in every corner? That is to fight with shadows, striking at smoke with bare hands. The more you contend with it, the more it multiplies. Better to live so steadfastly that your deeds themselves expose the lie. Let your life be the testimony no rumor can silence. For time, though slow, is the ally of truth, and a soul unshaken by gossip is a fortress no whisper can breach. Yet do not harden yourself into stone. To be falsely accused wounds deeply, and it is natural to grieve when your name is slandered. Allow yourself this sorrow, but do not let it master you. Remember, reputation is a thing given by others, but character is your own. One may be stolen, but the other cannot be touched. Still, the pain of rumor lingers, for it isolates. Friends fall silent, trust withers, and you may walk as though alone among men. But in that solitude you discover a deeper truth. The worth of your soul is not measured by the tongues of others, but by the compass within you. So when whispers rise, meet them with patience. When shadows circle, let your light remain. For lies are like passing clouds, they darken the sky, but they cannot prevent the dawn. And if hatred clings to you because of what others have spoken, know this: you are not hated for who you are, but for the phantom painted by rumor. The phantom will fade, you will remain. V. The Mirror of Insecurity. There are mirrors not made of glass, but of presence. You yourself may become such a mirror for another without knowing it, without wishing it. They look upon you, and in your face they see not who you are, but who they are not. A man weighed down by insecurity does not bear his burden in silence alone. He seeks to cast it outward, to place it on another's shoulders. When he sees your confidence, it is not admiration that stirs in him, but resentment. For your steadiness reminds him of his own trembling, your success of his failures, your calm of his storms. This is the strange alchemy of insecurity. It transforms the qualities of another into daggers against oneself. And unable to bear this wound, the insecure soul projects it outward. He whispers against you, competes with you in secret, even hates you not because of what you have done, but because of what you awaken within him. Consider the river at night. The moonlight touches its surface, and the river reflects it faithfully. Yet if the water is disturbed, the reflection twists, becomes broken, monstrous. The moon has not changed, only the water has. So it is with the insecure soul. Your light remains steady, but his turbulence distorts it into something frightening. Do not take this distortion as truth. It is his storm, not your essence. If you carry his anger into your heart, you make his shadows your own. The wise man recognizes projection for what it is, a defense of the weak against themselves. And yet beware, this mirror is not only theirs, it can also be yours. How often do you look upon another and feel a sting of inadequacy? How often do you envy their fortune, or resent their strength, or question your own worth beside theirs? In that moment, you too are caught in the mirror's spell. You too are twisting their light into an arrow against yourself. Guard against this with vigilance. When you see another prosper, let it be a reminder of what is possible, not a wound upon your pride. When you see another's virtue, let it stir reverence, not rivalry. For envy is a chain and admiration a key. The insecure man wages war with phantoms of his own making. Do not join him. Do not become his phantom, nor create your own. Let his projection fall aside like arrows striking a shield. You are not the cause of his unrest, only the surface upon which it is written. And remember, the deepest strength is compassion. To see another torn by his insecurities and not answer with scorn, but with understanding, that is wisdom. For every soul carries hidden wounds, and some wounds bleed as envy, others as pride, others still as quiet hostility. To meet them with gentleness is to remind yourself that you too have stumbled in shadows, and only by grace did you find the light again. Thus, when resentment comes unbidden, ask, whose mirror is this? If it is not yours, let it pass. If it is yours, polish it with reason until it reflects truth. And in this way, you will walk through the hall of mirrors unharmed, bearing within you a light that no distortion can extinguish. 6. The absence of empathy. There are fields where no seed takes root, where rain falls but nothing grows. Such is the soul without empathy, barren, unyielding, unable to bear fruit. In that soil only thorns arise: judgment, suspicion, resentment. When one cannot step beyond the walls of the self, he mistakes every gesture of another. A word meant gently is heard as harshness. A silence meant for reflection is taken as disregard. He does not look with your eyes, does not walk with your feet, does not breathe with your lungs. And because he cannot, he fills the gaps with his own fears. In this way, hostility is born not from your actions, but from his blindness. You become a character in the story he writes about himself, a rival, a threat, an obstacle. All the while you are only living your life, carrying your burdens, seeking your peace. This is the tragedy of a world without empathy. Men stand side by side, yet remain as distant as stars. They see each other's light, but not each other's heat. They guess at motives, assume malice, and turn difference into enmity. But you, if you would walk wisely, must not let their coldness chill your heart. Do not mirror their indifference, or you become like them. Hold instead to compassion, even when none is shown. For empathy, though absent in others, can still dwell in you. Ask yourself, how many times have you misunderstood another? How often have you judged swiftly, only to discover later that you were wrong to remember? This is to keep humility close, and humility is the soil in which empathy grows. Still understand this truth with clarity: some will never see you, no matter how brightly you shine. Their gaze is fixed inward, their ears closed, their hearts sealed. You cannot open them by force, nor bend your life into shapes that will please their narrow vision. To attempt this is to abandon yourself. So what remains? To accept that some will not walk beside you in understanding. To accept that their resentment speaks more of their limits than of your worth. To accept that empathy, when absent, leaves a wound in the fabric of human life, but a wound you are not obliged to carry. And in this acceptance there is peace. For you cannot govern the hearts of others, only your own. If yours remains open, patient, and gentle, then you are already free. The world will always have those who do not understand you. Do not let this become your burden. Let your calm be the answer to their blindness, your steadiness, the antidote to their misjudgment. And when you find yourself weary, remember, even a barren field under the sun is still part of the earth. And one day, with rain enough, even it may bloom. Until then, remain rooted in your own serenity, untouched by the emptiness of those who cannot yet see. 7th, the edge of rivalry. Life sharpens men against one another, as iron sharpens iron. At times, this is good rivalry, awakens strength. Competition tempers the will, and the presence of another striving soul calls forth your hidden power. Yet the same fire that purifies can also consume. Rivalry, when corrupted, ceases to be a forge and becomes a battlefield where resentment festers. You know this tension well. Perhaps once you labored beside another in harmony, each spurring the other forward. But when the balance tips, when admiration twists into comparison, and comparison into envy, then what was once strength becomes poison. Your triumph no longer inspires, it wounds. Your progress is not seen as yours, but as theft from another. This is the peril of rivalry, it blinds the heart. Instead of looking to his own ascent, the rival fixes his gaze on your fall. He forgets that the mountain has room for many climbers. He imagines that only one may reach the summit, and thus he sees you not as fellow traveler, but as enemy. Beware this spirit, for it is fierce. The rival's desire is not merely to rise, but to see you cast down. He may slander, he may scheme, he may strike openly or in secret. And when his efforts fail, his hatred deepens, for your endurance reveals his impotence. What then should you do? Shall you descend the mountain to ease his wounded pride? That is folly. The summit does not lower itself to meet the valley. Shall you fight blow for blow, hatred for hatred? That is ruin. For in doing so, you become what you despise. No, stand firm. Let your eyes remain on your own path. The true contest is not against another man, but against your own weakness, your own fear, your own temptation to abandon the climb. If another surpasses you, rejoice, for he has shown what heights are possible. If you surpass him, do not gloat, for fortune may turn. The victory that matters is mastery over yourself. Remember rivalry when pure strengthens, when corrupted destroys. It is like the sword in a just hand, a shield of the weak. In a cruel hand, a tool of murder. The difference lies not in the blade, but in the heart that wields it. So if hostility comes to you in the shape of rivalry, let it sharpen your patience, not your bitterness. Let it remind you that your worth is not measured against another's shadow, but against the truth of your own striving. And should you ever feel the fire of rivalry rising within yourself, quench it with reason. Say to your soul, another's gain is not my loss. His summit does not diminish my sky. For in the end, the mountain does not belong to one man. It belongs to the earth, and the earth welcomes all who climb. VIII. The weight of expectation society weaves invisible nets. They are not forged of iron, yet they bind more tightly than chains. Customs, traditions, unspoken rules, these are the threads spun by countless generations before you. From birth, they are laid upon your shoulders. Live as we live. Believe as we believe. Walk the path we have marked. And so when you step aside, when you follow a different calling, love in a different way, or pursue a destiny not written by their hand, you are met with unease. Some frown in silence, others curse you aloud. Their resentment is not born from your choice alone, but from what your choice reveals, that they themselves are bound, and you are not. For nothing unsettles the rigid more than freedom. When you refuse to bow to expectation, you become a mirror in which they see their own submission. They hate not your life, but the reflection of their chains. Do not be surprised by this. Remember, the flock resents the bird that flies away. The city mocks the wanderer who seeks new lands. And yet is not the bird truer to its wings, the wanderer truer to his feet? So too must you be true to the shape of your own soul. But guard against arrogance. To walk apart does not make you greater, only different. Fate has given you a path, and it is yours to walk with dignity, not with pride. Others may remain within the walls of tradition, and that is their portion, their safety, their chosen peace. Who are you to scorn them for it? The Stoics teach us that each man's duty is to follow what accords with nature. If your nature calls you to break from the mold, then honor it. If their nature binds them to custom, honor that too. For harmony is not sameness, it is the fitting together of many different notes into one great song. Still, you must accept the cost. The judgments of others will follow you like shadows. They may whisper, he is lost. She is misguided. They have forsaken the way. Do not let these words disturb your peace. To live by expectation is to die to yourself. Better to endure their scorn than to betray your essence. Think of the river. It does not ask permission before it bends through stone, nor does it apologize when it floods its banks. It moves as it must, and in time even the hardest rock yields. so too must you flow with the current of your own being. And if hatred comes because you dared to be different, meet it with quiet strength. Say to yourself, "This life is mine. It was given by fate, and I shall live it in accordance with reason, not in fear of their judgment." For when the day comes that you stand at the end of your road, none of those who judged you will bear your death. It will be yours alone. Should not your life then also be yours? 9. The ache of unrecognized deeds. There is a hunger deeper than the stomach's cry, a thirst sharper than the desert's heat, the longing to be seen. To labor, to strive, to endure hardship, and then to find only silence, this is a wound that few can bear with grace. How many souls grow bitter, not because their work was hard, but because it was unseen? A farmer tills the soil, yet no one thanks the earth he breaks. A mother gives her nights to her child, yet receives only weariness in return. A soldier bleeds for the safety of the city, and the city forgets his name. When effort meets silence, resentment begins to take root, curling like ivy around the heart. And sometimes that resentment turns not against the world at large, but against you. Perhaps your deeds were noticed, while theirs were ignored. Perhaps your light seemed to eclipse their fragile flame. In such cases, you become the unwilling symbol of their neglect, the face of their forgotten worth. They scorn you not for what you are, but for what they are not acknowledged to be. This is the ache of unrecognized deeds, a sorrow that festers in secret until it hardens into hostility. Yet understand, recognition is as fleeting as smoke. Today they cheer, tomorrow they forget. If you tie your worth to applause, you will be as restless as the wind. The wise soul learns to shift its gaze. Ask yourself, why did I labor? Was it for the praise of men or for the excellence of the work itself? If it was for praise, then resentment will poison you as surely as it poisons them. But if it was for virtue, for the duty fulfilled, for the task completed in harmony with reason, then the silence of others cannot diminish the fullness of your act. Think of the tree in the wilderness. It bears fruit, though no passerby plucks it. It offers shade, though no traveler rests beneath it. Does the tree lament because it is not praised? No, it simply follows its nature. So too should you. Still, do not grow cold. Though you must not depend on recognition, you may still give it freely. To acknowledge another's effort to honor their unseen labor, this is a gift of healing. You may not cure the bitterness in every soul, but a word of gratitude may keep resentment from growing. Do not withhold it, for empathy costs little yet carries great weight. And when you yourself are overlooked, endure it as a test. Let the silence strengthen you. Say to yourself, I have done what was right. Whether it is seen or unseen is not mine to command. For fate does not measure your deeds by the eyes of others, but by the truth within you. So walk on even in solitude. Do not beg for applause nor despair when it is absent. The ache of unrecognized deeds belongs to those who have not yet learned the deeper joy to act well for its own sake. Once you grasp this, no silence can wound you. The roots of hatred are many: envy, misunderstanding, difference, rumor, insecurity, blindness, rivalry, expectation, neglect. Yet beneath them all lies the same truth. The storms of others belong to them, not to you. Their unrest is the echo of battles fought within themselves, and you are but the surface upon which their shadows fall. You cannot command another's heart. You cannot quiet the envy that burns, nor erase the suspicion that festers, nor silence the whispers that fly on careless tongues. To attempt this is to chain yourself to what is beyond your reach. The wise know where their power ends at the boundary of their own reason, their own response, their own soul. So walk steadily. If hostility follows, let it pass behind you like footprints erased by the tide. If scorn arises, let it strike only the air. Do not seek to please all, for even the sun which nourishes the earth is cursed by those who cannot bear its heat. Instead, anchor yourself in what cannot be taken, your character, your discipline, your inner peace. These are yours alone, gifts of nature and reason. Guard them, and no hatred can uproot you, and cherish those who walk beside you in sincerity. For even among shadows there are light's friends who honor your path, kindred souls who rejoice in your rise. Hold them close and let their presence remind you that goodness too multiplies quietly like roots beneath the soil. In the end, you are not measured by the hostility of others, but by the constancy of your own spirit. Let them hate if they must. You simply remain. Like the dawn which returns without permission, without apology, indifferent to praise, untouched by scorn.